All right, big news has came this Saturday morning for Oklahoma and Ohio State fans as Nate Roberts has committed to the Ohio State Buckeyes, now leaving Oklahoma fans just like you and me wondering who could be next for Joe John Finley and Seth Terell. Here's the deal. We got to talk about how Nate Roberts impacts Oklahoma on the recruiting trail, and if the Oklahoma Sooners could flip Nate Roberts from Ohio State, because as we all know, he's probably going to be on campus a couple times this season to watch his brother because, hey, Nate Roberts only lives right down the road. But before we dive into it, before we discuss it, I need you all to join the discussion and let me know if you think Oklahoma can flip Nate Roberts from Ohio State. And we're going to talk about it. So let's jump right into it. Nate Roberts, a 4-star tight end right here out of Oklahoma's backyard in Washington, Oklahoma. Nate Roberts was a top prospect in this class for a lot of teams. The number 118th ranked player overall, 6'4", 235 pounds. This is a guy that can really, right now, he's a great pass catching tight end, but you hope can develop a little bit better as a pass blocking tight end as well, kind of like his brother. And then at that point, this dude's absolutely elite and even has an NFL future, but has a total of 39 total offers. And at one point was originally committed to Notre Dame, decommitted, and then you kind of saw this process drag out a little bit. And a lot of people thought the process for Nate Roberts might drag all the way into the summer because he had all those official visits planned. Hence, Ohio State on June 7th, Penn State on May 31st, Oregon on June 14th, and then Oklahoma getting the final official visit on June 21st. As of right now, we have to kind of wait and see, is Oklahoma still going to get an official visit? And I only say that because many times do you see a player commit somewhere and then Oklahoma or any other school continues to get visits after a player commits. So we'll just have to keep that in mind. Nate Roberts is a guy that also plays baseball, but probably not playing baseball at the collegiate level. So not like that really came into a fact for Oklahoma. But having Jake Roberts on campus as a tight end for Oklahoma is probably going to serve to be the long game for Oklahoma. And what I mean by that is with Nate Roberts being with Jake Roberts, with Nate Roberts being in Oklahoma's backyard and Jake Roberts being on the team for Oklahoma, you would imagine that parents are definitely going to be at this game. They want to see Jake, right? You would imagine Nate Roberts is going to be pulling up to those games with the family. Now, the question is, when he pull up to those games, does he give Oklahoma the time of day, right? And you almost have to wonder, now that he's committed to Ohio State, the thought process and the thinking of, and especially as his brother starts to get more ingrained into this offense and this team, does it start to weigh on him and go, this is where I should have been all along? Time's going to tell. And as you guys have watched for so long, you guys have known this was coming. Been telling you, you're going to see him commit to Ohio State, but Oklahoma's got to play the long game and potentially play for an early signing day or national signing day flip. That's the long game for Oklahoma. And that's how it's felt all along. But Oklahoma's got a couple other options at tight end. This isn't it. I mean, where at the beginning of the cycle, it looked really good for OU. It's kind of dwindled a little bit. But if you're Oklahoma, you still have elite prospects on your board. And probably the most elite one on your board that's still available is Deshaun Brain. Now, Deshaun Brain, he's got predictions to Oregon. Oklahoma is still very slightly in there. Not hedging any bets on it, though. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just say he's not coming to Oklahoma. Right now, Oregon's got a pretty good lead here out of Derby, Kansas, which is Dan Lanning's area. Like, Dan Lanning wants to recruit this region really well, and I believe Dan Lanning's from Kansas. So, yeah, that's listen, if you're an Oklahoma fan, don't be hedging your bets on Deshaun Brain, but just know he's still in play. And I mean, anything can happen, especially now that Nate Roberts isn't committed. Oklahoma's going to try to probably go in a little bit more on another tight end. But the one that I'm really paying attention to, the one that I think a lot of Oklahoma fans need to be paying attention to, is Chase Lofton, the 6'6", 215-pound tight end out of Nebraska. And if you all remember, we talked about it when he got the offer last summer from Oklahoma. It was his first offer. And, Oklahoma has kind of been high on his list. The question is Joe John Finley going to push? I feel like if Joe John Finley and this staff pushes for Chase Lofton, they can easily land him. Now, a lot of people are going to look at it and say, well, he's from Nebraska. Why would he not go to Nebraska? Or why would he not go to K-State, where his brother currently plays? And I hear you on that. But I'm telling you, Oklahoma sits in a very good spot for this recruitment. But you don't want to get so far out that you kind of lose your luster with Chase Lofton. Currently, the 366th ranked player in the 247 composite. Chase Lofton is going to continue to rise, and I would bet he is a top 150 player by the end of this cycle. Currently has 21 offers, was just recently out at Florida State this past weekend, but Oklahoma's got 4 unofficial visits currently on the calendar, while K-State's had 4 and Nebraska has had 7. Nebraska's in the backyard, so you'd expect Nebraska probably gets a lot of those unofficials. But Oklahoma, you haven't gotten one since March 4th. You might need to get him back on campus again and kind of reassure him that he's a priority for you. He's a target. But you saw Oklahoma offer another prospect in this class, in Dakota Terell, 6'6", 215 out of Pensacola, Oklahoma. Number 651st ranked player in this class right now, 3-star, really good basketball player. Right now, his offer sheet is only 6 schools, but it's kind of an elite offer sheet when you look at it. Here's what I mean by that. Arkansas, Michigan, OU, Oklahoma State, A&M, and UNLV. Only one non-Power 4 school. Man, that just sounds weird to say. Only one. And Michigan's in this pretty heavily. So if you're Oklahoma, you've got an in-state guy that you could potentially go after. You need to get him on campus, let him camp with you, kind of get a good feel for where he's at. But if you're Oklahoma, your priority has got to shift to Chase Lofton. You get Chase Lofton, and you figure it out from there. Who's going to be the second tight end you take? You play the long game with Nate Roberts, and then also take Dakota Terell as a PWO plus. But the problem is Dakota Terrell's got other offers. So would he take a PWO plus? That's the ultimate question. So Ohio State, they get Nate Roberts, and it probably impacts Oklahoma more than I think we think at the moment, just because now Oklahoma is playing from for sure behind in this recruitment. But you now know what the game plan is. You now know you have a point of attack, and it's to get Nate Roberts to flip on National Signing Day. So again, guys, I want to hear from y'all, so make sure you join the discussion. Jump down in the comments below. Let me know, do you think Nate Roberts will flip to Oklahoma? Because like I said, there's a good chance this dude's going to be on campus, at least another 2 or 3 times this year, at least, maybe 4. And if he gets if he comes back for an official, guys, I think it's clear indication that this recruitment's not over. Also, YouTube wants you guys to watch one of these 2 videos below. So if you've made it this far, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and tune into one of those videos.